Hey guys, what's going on? So I've been thinking a lot lately about how I've had to rethink white supremacy. I remember when I was a kid and I would learn about the Ku Klux Klan. It was basically like learning about Dracula or monsters or vampires or werewolves. To me, that's how scary the Klan was. And I would hear, I had mentioned that I had an uncle that was lynched when I wasn't born yet, so I didn't know him. But, my dad's side in Colorado. So I'm not saying that this stuff doesn't go on or it didn't go on, but I just had it in mind that there were these rabid people that just were killing machines, and they'd see a black person, like, I gotta kill him! But they weren't people before that. They were just like zombies, basically. That was kind of like what I thought, like these white hooded zombies that were just like kill, that walked around with like a what do you call it, a noose, and a noose in one hand and a burning cross in the other hand, and anybody that didn't look like them, they wanted to kill. And that was just my perception of Klan members, not white people, because I didn't believe all white people were like that. When I was a kid, my dad and my friend and I are driving down, and this is Los Angeles, mind you. Swear to God, I'm not kidding. It was straight out of a movie. But these guys, we were at a light, and these guys pull up to us in an orange truck, and they're white, and they turn and look at us, and they're like, a bunch of fucking niggers. And the dude sped off, and I was just like, oh my God, like I wasn't scared. I was just like, oh my God, this shit really happens. And this is LA, downtown, okay? Alameda by the train tracks, if you guys are from like that area. And I remember my dad, there was this rocks, because there's a lot of like debris and stuff down there. It's like a ratty, before downtown was like, all bougie as it is now. But my dad picks up this rock, and he got so mad, and he threw the rock as they're speeding away, and he hit the truck. I was actually impressed that my dad actually hit the truck. And I was just like, and I remember my dad's friend was like, your mama. I was just like, oh my God. So in my mind, that cemented. I was like, oh my God, there are really people out there that think black people are niggers, and they're just gonna lynch them in like any moment, As I've gotten older, I realized that we all have that hatred in us, no matter what race we are. That it's, I kind of think, I'm not making an excuse for it, but I think when you get to the point where you want to kill people that look physically different than you, it's a form of psychopathy. And the psychopathy can be prevalent in any race, because I know black people that feel that way about other races, not just white people, but Asians or Mexicans. And I've seen it in other races against each other, or against other races. It's not just white people. And as this whole, especially the last 4 years, I really thought about this, I've watched, I remember getting mad. I felt like the mainstream media back in the day would portray all black people as savages and stupid and crazy and violent. And I would just get so mad, because I'm like, well, I'm not like that. I know there's some black people that are like that, but I'm not like that. And I know a lot of people that are not like that are black. It really pissed me off. And I'm like, they don't really show good public. And I think that's why when Obama was, why so many black people clung to Obama, because they really wanted a positive representation of black people. And I think a lot of black people projected themselves onto him to be a representative of him that they thought didn't really, that represented us well. So I think that's why a lot of black people too, if you mention Obama, any negative light, people take that shit so personally, like it's like they short circuit, But I digress. So anyway, yeah. So so these past 4 years, just looking at like how the media portrays white people, and my friend Inage, she may even have a video in one of her videos on her channel talks about it, but we were talking about like how, how they portray savages or people in third world countries as savage, and how they portray them as like, indigenous and stupid, or the, low income blacks here in America. They've done the same thing to white people, right? They're portraying like the middle America working class white people. Now the tables have turned, and it's on them. Now it's on them, and they're the ones that are being portrayed as these people that are like, savages and crazy and rabid killers. And when we went to the rally last Wednesday, I saw all people of different races. there. It was beautiful. But I also did see those stereotypical guys with the white beards, the beards and the hats and the crunchy looking guys. They were the nicest people. They were sweet. They were nice. Like, I remember, like, I was trying to climb up somewhere. This guy's like, "Oh, let me help you. Do you need help? Blah, 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 blah." You know? So I didn't feel that was, I just know that they're being manipulated. They're being lied on just like I've been, or my people have been in the past. You know? The tables have turned on them. And I also understand where you become kind of racist or discriminatory if you are backed up in a corner, no matter what race you are. So if, you know, right now it's, you know, I really feel like the media has really, or they've really done a grand effort to villainize white people and make them like these rabid people. And you can see that, you know, with Black Lives Matter and everything, and how this white guilt has taken over. And it's like, it's mind control. It's mind control. When I was a teacher, I've taught kids of all races. I taught in a different country. I've taught white kids, black kids, Chinese kids, Korean kids, Latino kids, Nicaraguense kids, like every race you can possibly imagine. And then I also taught, when I taught in Taiwan, I also taught in different nationalities, because there are cultural differences I'm not going to really get into. But what my point is, kids do not they're not race, they don't internalize this shit. It's taught to them. It's not innate in them, it's taught to them. They internalize it because they've been brainwashed by it. Kids understand that you look very different than them, whether it's your skin, your hair, your nose, whatever, but they don't make it meaning, they don't attach meaning to it. So until, you know, and then I realized when I was a teacher, and I was, you know, by the things that we are teaching, and when I started getting into Charlotte Iserby's work, and when I started understanding mind control and subtle brainwashing and taking over the schools, I realized I was a part of it unwittingly, and then I wanted to get out. But, you know, and by the way, I didn't choose what I wanted to teach as a teacher. That's another frustrating thing. The teachers are told what to teach. So I remember specifically teaching a Jackie Robinson story, and it was interesting because I also began to realize a pattern of like the stuff we were taught about Black people and people of color was from a very disempowering point of or perspective. They'll be like, yes, this guy achieved this, but there was always racism everywhere. He couldn't be anything. So I remember I taught this Jackie Robinson story, and there was a point when they were like, oh, the people tried to hurt him with his club shoes because he was black, or the people tried to hurt him with his club shoes. I remember after we read the story, there was a kid that was like, hey, I have a question. I was like, what? And he was like, I don't understand why the other players were trying to hurt him with their spiked shoes. And I was like, oh, because he was black. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, he's because of racism, whatever, you know, like. And then he was like, no, I really don't understand. I was like, because he was black? He's like, I don't, like, because of what? Like how he was like, how's it how he looked? And I was like, yeah, because his skin was dark. He was like, what? I was like, because, like, it was so hard for me to, like, get it in his head because I had already been in train with it. So I understood, right? But it was, as a kid, it was sad and also inspiring at the same time. That the kids, not just him, but the other kids were like, they were like puzzled, like what? Like what? I'm like, you guys don't understand, like. And then one kid like finally got it and he started to cry. He was like, that's so awful. And then I felt bad, and I was like, oh my God, like they had no idea. They had no idea. Like they know, they'll call each other names and stuff, but they don't understand, like. The fear that's indoctrinated inside of people to fear people because of how they look starts at a very young age. And then you look at all of these, you know, TV shows are always talking about racism, and they're always talking about, you know, and especially Black people, it's like there's always racism. You can never get to be what you're going to be, and because racism is always going to be this monster that you can never beat because, you know, we have to get over it. But there's no way that you can get over it because they're always going to make you remember that you're nothing because you're Black. You know, it's kind of like this way of still psychologically keeping us down and keeping us entrained and keeping us in this victim state. And then you have this animosity and jealousy that comes from the Black side. And then you have the white side that's also being entrained, and because with the guilt. right? And then anybody other races, then I'm sorry, I know I'm making this a black-white thing, and I know there are other people than just black and white people, but anybody that's not black and white, you basically have to choose a side on which you like agree, basically. But most of the time, they'll put if you're like an Asian person or Latin person or whatever, you're not a non-white person, they'll put you on the side with the black people. But black people are some of the racist motherfuckers I've ever met in my life too. And I'm talking about not just like against other races, but I'm talking about like with other black people. Like when I was in junior high, I went through the whole light skin, dark skin, good hair, bad hair. I was pretty light, but so nobody really bothered me about my skin, but my hair texture and, you know, having big features and stuff, all, you know, it's like, it was just as bad as racism, I would say. And I wasn't even prepared for that. I was more prepared for having to deal with racism between non-blacks, but like having to deal with my own people. So there's this guy, his name is Daryl, oh shoot, Daryl Johnson? Oh no, I forgot his name. Okay, anyway, he basically converts Klan members and gives him, he's a black guy, and he converts white Ku Klux Klan members. He like hangs out with him. He's like, hey guy, and he becomes friends with them, and he converts them and gets them to give up their robe. And it's phenomenal that, you know, he knows it's a program. He knows it's a mind control. It's all programming. We're all programmed to think this way. And I just see, so when Anangi and I were traveling, we drove from Texas to DC, and we drove through these small towns. And we were going into these small towns. We didn't have any racism issue. In fact, on the side note, nobody gives a fuck about the mask except in the big cities, it seems like. Because we would even go into gas stations or restaurants, and they'd have like, oh, everybody has to wear a mask to enter. I was like, oh shit, here we go again. I guess I ain't going in anywhere around here. And then I'm like, maybe I can just sneak in and run to the bathroom before anybody notices that I am not wearing a mask. And then I walk in, and the manager's not wearing a mask. The cashiers aren't wearing a mask. There's some people here and there that are wearing a mask, but it's like they're given the choice. They're like, if you want to wear a mask and you feel safe, fine, you can wear a mask. If you're not wearing a mask, that's cool too. Like nobody was tripping over who was wearing a mask or who wasn't wearing a mask. It was very interesting. But then when you get into Austin or DC, people like think that, you know, it's the plague. And by the way, nobody was fucking dying of coronavirus in the streets in all these times. We drove through Arkansas, we drove through Tennessee, we drove through Virginia, and then some parts of Maryland. And nobody gave a fuck outside of DC. I'm just saying. So there's a little perspective. And I really had any animosity. You know, we looked at everybody. And I think that's a wonderful thing, too, about being maskless. You can read people's faces more. So I'm a smiler. I like to look at people and smile and be like, hey, what's up? So anybody I looked at, you know, I just give them this big smile. I'm like, hey, guys, like, good morning. And they'd be like, hi, oh, my God, how are you? And, you know, and I think other people are also happy that we weren't wearing a mask, but racism, and Anangi kept saying, this racism bullshit. She goes, this is the biggest lie we've been told. It's such a fucking lie. It's such a lie, right? And people have prejudices, right? But even back then, I would say the Klan members, they were manipulated into, you know, they were told they were manipulated, they were taken over, you know, in the sense that whether you can say it was demonically or whatever, but, you know, I'm not justifying what they're doing, but in their minds, black people were a threat to them. Whatever they were told, whatever they were brainwashed to think. And this is the same programming that's happened with Antifa and the left, how they think that, you know, it's okay that somebody died at the Capitol, a few people died at the Capitol last week because they were white supremacists, because they were racist, and they deserved to die. Like, those people didn't have families, and they didn't have people that cared about them too, you know? It's okay. Like, they can mock those people, right? But it's interesting because these people that think they're so sophisticated, they don't understand, and they don't see how they're becoming the same people that they claim to hate. And I've had this conversation with many of my friends that I've just had to leave Facebook, or I've just had to just not look at Facebook because I see some of the people that I know and love that are growing up that have just turned into fucking horrible monsters. They're Klan members themselves and they don't even know it. They're hateful people themselves and they don't even know it, right? But I know it's because they've been programmed. So I don't think that this racism thing it has to do with skin color. It's discrimination based on A, your ideology and your beliefs, or B, what you've been programmed to think. And this book that I keep raving about, the 4 arguments against what is it? So the elimination of television, it's just basically talking about how these alpha waves, you know, infiltrate your mind. And if you're not aware, it's just basically programming people to make decisions. They have these thoughts. They don't even know where they got them from. This is why when you talk to people and you ask them to explain their side of you, why they hate Trump supporters or why they hate, you know, white people, or why they hate Republicans so much, they really can't give you a definitive answer. They're just like, I just hate them. I don't know why I just hate them. But you're just like, can you be logical? They can't be logical, even though they're intelligent people, even though they're probably people with degrees and have gone through school and they're maybe logical in other areas of their life. They compartmentalized their thought processes, and they've just honed on this one thing that they've been programmed to. It's like they're activated, like they're, you know, like they're normal, and then it's like the switch. Somebody turns on a switch, and they're just like, zoop. And they're just like, hate. You know, like, you guys need to watch that Black Mirror episode, Mad Against Fire. That's, in a nutshell, I really think that really sums up what has been done to the population. And so as of now, I don't think that anymore. I know that it's deeper than just white people that are white supremacists that have this that are just rabid zombie killers. You know, like I remember traveling when we took a road trip from California to Colorado. My dad's side's from Colorado, and I'm looking at the map, and I drove through California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and I remember being terrified that we were going to run into the Klan. In my mind, I was like, oh my God, what if you go to a small town and the Klan comes out and they try and lynch us and burn us? Like in my head, like that's what I was thinking. So every time we got out the car, I was like, like the whole time between then, I was just like, I was thinking that. And that's a terrible state of mind to be in. And this is also, you have to realize, this is a state of mind they want us in, because it's like, when you're in that fight or flight response, it's basically keeping you in a permanent fight or flight response. You're easily manipulated because instinctually as human beings, this is our survival mechanism. And when you're in that fight or flight response, you're in a state of hyper awareness, and you're not built to think logically. So, you know, you're more, you know, so you're easier to control. You're easier to manipulate and control that way. So this is where they want us. So you guys have to think about that too. I'm so glad I don't have that mentality anymore. You know, I'm glad. I think my life has definitely become richer. You know, my family's pretty mixed. I'm not mixed. I mean, I'm mixed, but my grandmother's half white on my dad's side, okay? Because people ask me in the comments. My grandmother's half Irish on my dad's side, okay? But, and then within that, I have a shit ton of interracial marriage in my family, like Asians, Latinos, Blacks, so everybody, they just fucked everybody. Like my grandmother had like 14 siblings. Either there was 15 and she was the 14th, but there was a lot of them. They were all mixed. And some look white, some look totally white, some look totally black, and some look like they're mixed. And then within that, they all like fucked other races. So my dad, like I have a lot of interracial marriage in my family. And so I never really bought into all white people are bad or all white people. But it's interesting, even in my family, people have ideas about who's black and who's not and what's black. They'll get I hear people say, oh, once people get mixed up, then racism will be over. No, that's some bullshit. And I know there are people that are probably mixed and they come from mixed families in the comments. They know the drill. They're like, yeah, that's some bullshit. That's not going to cure the racism problem. Just everybody mixing, because we're still going to find something to hate each other for. We're still going to find some division or something, right? Even you know, my family, you know, the people, they have the black families that have the color complex shit, right? Where it's like the people that are dark in the family, they get made fun of, or people have nappy hair, they get made fun. It's like, it never ends. So it's not going to end with everybody just, you know, mixing it up, and it's some bullshit. So, and then my mom's side, my great-grandfather was Haitian, because I heard I'm just trying to answer comments as I'm thinking about it. So I'm not Haitian for me. I don't really know a lot about Haitian heritage. I would like to, but I have Haitian in me. And anyway, so yeah, I guess that's it. So I really had to rethink my thoughts on white supremacy and understand that supremacism is something that can happen to all of us, especially with, even, you know, the credentialists, like nobody talks about that stuff, about people that have degrees and how they look down on blue collar workers. To me, that's just as bad as racism, maybe even worse. I think I'll make a whole nother video just about that, because that's discrimination. It's discrimination. It all comes down to discrimination and hierarchy and who do you think are, you know, is worthy of living. And then you can take it all off into eugenics and genetics. And I mean, it gets deep, y'all. It gets deep. But I've definitely had to rethink all of that. And I'm really fortunate to realize everybody is my brother or my sister, no matter what race they are. We're human beings. That's what matters. There was only one race, the human race. So, all right, guys, this is getting too long, but I just wanted to put those thoughts out there. And I will talk to you later. I will see you on Wednesday's show, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. See you there. Peace and love. Bye-bye.